Dakota Walsh woke up with her cheek stuck to something smooth and cold, a symphony of pain playing a one-woman concert behind her eyeballs. Her tongue felt like sandpaper, her mouth dry enough to start a wildfire. Slowly, cautiously, she lifted her head and blinked at the room around her. Gilded ceiling, velvet curtains, the vague scent of expensive perfume and sex in the air. Not hers, hopefully. Probably. "What the hell?" she muttered, her voice hoarse. Then she saw her hand. Correction. She saw the ring on her hand. A thick gold band, simple but heavy, glinting under the chandelier like it belonged to someone who used words like trust fund and prenup. "No," she said aloud, sitting up too fast and immediately regretting it. The pain shot through her skull like a nail gun. She grabbed the edge of the velvet-draped bed for balance and tried to remember. The comedy show, the shots, the bachelorette party that had adopted her like a stray dog. A woman with bright red lipstick buying her tequila after tequila. A dare. A chapel. Oh God. Her stomach turned, but not from nausea, from dread. She looked to her left. No one. The bed was huge, messy, and empty, well, empty of people. Scattered across the nightstand was a phone she didn't recognize, a hotel-branded envelope, and a folded piece of paper. She grabbed it with shaking fingers. It was official-looking, printed with seals and stamps and the kind of cursive that screamed legal document. Certificate of marriage. Bride 1, Dakota Marie Walsh. Bride 2, Valentina Alessia Marcelo. She blinked. Who the hell is Valentina? And then, as if summoned by the universe's cruelest punchline, the door opened. Two men entered first. Broad-shouldered, suits tailored within an inch of their lives. Sunglasses indoors. The kind of guys who looked like they had guns under their jackets and no patience for open mic night. Then she walked in. Valentina. Tall. Impossibly elegant. Black hair sleeked back into a bun so sharp it could have sliced diamonds. Red lips. Cold eyes. The kind of woman who didn't walk, she commanded. Dakota's breath caught. Not just because the woman was stupidly, infuriatingly beautiful, but because she was staring at Dakota like she was something scraped off the bottom of a stiletto. "You're awake," Valentina said, her accent smooth and vaguely European. "Italian? Something sexy and sharp. Perfect. We need to talk." Dakota laughed. It came out more like a wheeze. "We're married?" Valentina didn't even flinch. "Apparently. And you are?" "Valentina Marcelo." The name hit like a slap. Dakota blinked again. She'd heard that name. Somewhere. Somewhere bad. As in the Marcelo crime family? Valentina's expression didn't change. As in, yes. "Oh my God," Dakota said, sitting back like she'd been burned. "Oh my actual God." "Relax," Valentina said, stepping forward, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. "No one's going to kill you." "That's not reassuring," Dakota squeaked. "People don't usually say that unless there's a chance of me being killed." Valentina stopped in front of the bed, arms crossed. Her eyes traveled over Dakota's disheveled form, oversized t-shirt, wild hair, pillow-creased cheek, and her lip twitched. "You don't remember anything?" "I remember shots. Karaoke. Elvis. Was he real?" "Unfortunately, yes." Dakota groaned and dropped her head into her hands. "Okay, great. So I married a mafia boss. I'll just go crawl into a hole now." "You're not going anywhere," Valentina said, her voice clipped. Dakota peeked at her, through her fingers. "I'm not. We're legally married. You're wearing my ring. The license is filed, which means we file for an annulment. No harm, no foul. I'll even throw in 2 tickets to my next show." Valentina tilted her head. "I don't want an annulment." "What?" "You heard me." "Why?" Valentina took a slow breath, like she was explaining something to a very dumb child. "Because I just inherited a criminal empire full of men who don't respect me. They see a woman in charge and smell blood. I need to project strength, stability, control. And nothing says I have my shit together like a wife." "Except you don't have a wife," Dakota said, waving her hands. You have a one-night Vegas accident who tells fart jokes for a living. Exactly, Valentina said calmly. Which means you have nothing to lose. And everything to gain. Dakota squinted. What are you saying? I'm offering you $500,000. What? Be my wife. Publicly. For 1 year. Family dinners. Press events. Appearances. You smile. You pretend. You play the part. Then we divorce, you get the money, and we never see each other again. Dakota stared. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. You're broke. Your landlord wants you out by the end of the month. Your agent stopped returning your calls. You have no job security, no money, and no plan. How do you know all that? I'm thorough. You're terrifying. Thank you. Silence. Thick. Electric. Valentina looked composed. Impeccable. Dakota felt like roadkill in comparison. Do I get dental? She said finally. Valentina blinked. What? If I'm gonna be your fake wife, I want dental. A pause. Then, unbelievably, Valentina smiled. Just a little. Just enough to make Dakota's heart lurch. We'll discuss your benefits package. Fine. Dakota muttered, grabbing the hotel water bottle like it might save her. But just so we're clear, this is insane. Of course it is, Valentina said. You married a mafia boss in Vegas. What part of this did you expect to be normal? The car was too clean. That was the first thing Dakota noticed. Not just clean, sterile. The leather smelled like new money and power, the kind that didn't care if you liked it or not. Valentina sat across from her in the back seat, legs crossed, one manicured hand resting on her lap, the other scrolling through her phone like she wasn't currently chauffeuring her accidental wife to her mafia estate. Dakota shifted in the leather seat, her oversized hoodie clashing violently with Valentina's designer trench coat and air of general menace. So, Dakota tried. Do I get like a handbook? Or a Mafia for Dummies guide? Valentina didn't look up. Try not to get shot. Great. I'll embroider that on a pillow. Silence again. Dakota chewed the inside of her cheek. This feels like the part in the movie where the comic relief dies first. Valentina glanced up. You think you're comic relief? I am literally a stand-up comedian. No. You're chaos incarnate. Thanks. That wasn't a compliment. The SUV slowed, turning through tall wrought iron gates that creaked ominously as they opened. Dakota stared out the tinted window. The Marcelo estate wasn't just a house, it was a compound. Ivy-covered walls. Armed guards at every entrance. Fountains. Statues. A driveway longer than most hiking trails. It was obscene and beautiful and intimidating as hell. She gulped. Okay, wow. You weren't kidding. About what? Needing a wife to look stable. This place screams mob boss villain lair. Valentina smirked. I told you. So, do I meet your family now? Like, hi, I'm Dakota, your accidental daughter-in-law. Eventually. For now, you meet Francesca. Who's that? Your mother? Grandmother? Someone who'll slap me with a crucifix. My consigliera. Oh. Dakota blinked. Cool. Totally normal. They entered through double doors big enough to land a helicopter on. Inside, everything gleamed. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, dark wood paneling, and a cold that wasn't about temperature. It was about power. A woman waited by the staircase. Mid-50s. Elegant in a blood-red pantsuit. Short gray hair sharp enough to draw blood. Her eyes scanned Dakota like a laser. This is her? This is Dakota, Valentina said. My wife. Dakota gave a weak wave. Hi. Love what you've done with the intimidation vibes. Very chic. Francesca didn't smile. You married her in Vegas. Yes. While drunk. Yes. And now you've brought her into this house. Valentina's voice went icy. Do you have a problem with my decisions, Francesca? Only the ones that might get you killed. Noted. Francesca studied Dakota again. Can she be trusted? She's under contract. I mean really trusted. She's chaotic but not stupid. Dakota raised a hand. Still here. Also, chaotic but charming. Thank you. Francesca turned and walked away. We'll see how long she lasts. I don't like her, Dakota muttered. She's loyal. That's all I need. You could try that tone on me sometime. Just saying. Valentina shot her a look. Don't push your luck. Valentina led her through the halls, giving rapid-fire instructions. You'll have your own room. You'll be given a schedule, appearances, family dinners, charity events. Smile. Touch my arm. Laugh at my jokes. You make jokes? Occasionally. Wow. So, I'm not the only one capable of humor. Try not to embarrass me. Again, have you met me? They stopped outside a heavy wooden door. Valentina opened it to reveal a massive bedroom. Vaulted ceiling, fireplace, walk-in closet, a bathroom the size of Dakota's entire apartment. This is yours, Valentina said. You'll be watched. Don't try to run. Don't bring strangers here. And never, ever go into my office. Why? You hide bodies in there? No. Secrets. Cool, cool, cool. Definitely not going to touch the murder room. Valentina lingered in the doorway. Dakota flopped onto the bed with a groan. So, what now? Do I get a schedule? Mafia orientation. Dinner is at 7. Be presentable. Define presentable. Not this, Valentina said, gesturing vaguely at Dakota's hoodie. So, you do have feelings about my wardrobe. It's offensive to furniture. That's homophobic. Valentina smirked and turned to go. Dakota watched her walk away, equal parts exasperated and fascinated. She hated how graceful Valentina was, how she never seemed unsure of anything, how she could make Dakota feel like a clown just by breathing near her, but also how her voice sent shivers down Dakota's spine. That night, Dakota stood outside the massive dining room wearing the only decent dress she owned, her hair in a messy updo. The guards at the door opened it like she was royalty, and inside waited Valentina, seated at the head of a long table, wine glass in hand, looking like she owned the world. Dakota took a deep breath and stepped in. Valentina looked up. Paused. Her eyes moved over Dakota, neckline, bare shoulders, the nervous twitch of her fingers. And then a flicker of something. Surprise. Approval. Maybe even the tiniest hint of lust. You clean up well, Valentina said. Don't act so shocked, Dakota replied, walking to her seat. I can be elegant when I want to be. We'll see. Francesca entered, followed by 2 more men Dakota didn't recognize. Everyone took their seats. Dinner began. Conversation flowed in Italian and coded phrases. Dakota tried not to drop her fork. When Valentina reached for the breadbasket and their fingers brushed, Dakota flinched, only to find Valentina looking at her, eyes calm, mouth twitching. Relax, she said quietly. You're doing fine. I feel like I'm being evaluated by a panel of murderers. You are. Dakota choked on her wine. Valentina didn't smile, but she poured her another glass. After dinner, they stood side by side on the balcony, overlooking the estate. Cool wind. Distant lights. The hum of danger in the air. You did well, Valentina said. Is that Mafia code for you didn't die? Yes. Then I'll take the win. Valentina didn't move, but Dakota felt the shift. The glance. The awareness. She looked at Valentina, really looked, and asked the question that had been pressing at her since morning. Why didn't you want the annulment? Valentina hesitated. Just long enough to mean something. Because I didn't want to be alone, she said softly. Then she walked away. And for the first time since waking up married, Dakota didn't know what was real anymore. Dakota stood in front of the full-length mirror in the guest wing dressing room, trying not to pass out. The dress was black. Very black. And very tight. Strapless, floor-length, slits so high it should have come with a warning label. She'd never worn anything so aggressively, I might be someone's trophy wife, and it made her look like someone who had a personal stylist, a Pilates addiction, and at least one secret divorce settlement under her belt. Which she didn't. She had ramen debt. The door creaked. Valentina walked in. Dakota caught her reflection before she turned, Valentina in a midnight blue gown that shimmered like oil under moonlight. Her hair was up, neck bare, makeup sharp enough to kill. She looked like royalty. Or vengeance. Or both. Dakota's jaw almost dislocated from the tension in it. Valentina stared at her for a long beat. It fits. That's all you have to say? Dakota asked, turning around with wide eyes. This dress could legally be considered a weapon. That's the point. I thought the point was pretending to be married. That too. Dakota threw up her hands. Great. So I'm arm candy and a human shield. Don't flatter yourself, Valentina murmured, walking past her. But Dakota saw it, the way Valentina's eyes lingered, just a second too long. The flicker, the tension. It wasn't just pretend anymore. Not for either of them. The car ride to the gala was silent, save for the soft sound of Valentina's fingers tapping against her wine-colored clutch. The air between them was thick. Dakota could still feel the heat of Valentina's gaze on her skin, but the woman hadn't said a word since they'd left the estate. So, who's going to be there tonight? Dakota asked, mostly to break the tension before it choked her. Politicians. Allies. Rivals. The kind of people who smile while planning your funeral. Cool, cool, cool. Should I wear a bulletproof bra or? Valentina glanced at her. Just be charming. Laugh at my jokes. Touch my arms sometimes. Look like you're obsessed with me. That won't be hard, Dakota muttered before she could stop herself. Valentina stilled, then looked out the window. Dakota wanted to bury herself alive. The gala was held in a museum that looked like it had been stolen from Florence and dropped in the middle of Las Vegas. Gold statues, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet playing something pretentious and expensive. Everyone looked rich and dangerous. Dakota clung to Valentina's side like a nervous poodle, plastering on a smile as they were swallowed into the crowd. Valentina, a voice cooed from the right. A tall woman in an emerald dress slithered over, red nails clicking against her champagne flute. It's been too long. Isabella, Valentina said smoothly. You look predictable. Isabella's eyes slid to Dakota, calculating. And who's this? My wife. Valentina's hand settled possessively on Dakota's waist. Dakota nearly short-circuited. Isabella arched a perfectly sculpted brow. Wife. I didn't think commitment was your style. Times change, Valentina said coolly. Dakota, still reeling from the feel of that hand on her hip, offered a nervous wave. Hi. Big fan of murder and martinis. In that order. Isabella's smile thinned. She leaned closer to Valentina, voice like silk and venom. We should catch up sometime. Alone. I'm not alone, Valentina replied without missing a beat. And I don't intend to be. As Isabella slinked away, Dakota turned to Valentina. So, competitor. With benefits? That's none of your concern. You grabbed my waist like I was property. That's the role you agreed to. Sure, but maybe give me a heads up next time you use me as a human boundary. Valentina's mouth twitched. Noted. An hour later, the ballroom buzzed with whispers and sideways glances. Dakota had been introduced, paraded, and photographed. She'd smiled until her face hurt. And Valentina had played her part, hand at the small of her back, whispering fake sweet nothings in her ear, making her laugh on cue. But somewhere in the middle of a slow dance, as Valentina's hand lingered just a little longer on her waist, Dakota felt something shift. It wasn't part of the performance. It was real, dangerous, and mutual. You're good at this, Dakota whispered, their faces inches apart. I've had to lie my whole life. You could have gone into politics. Too honest. Dakota snorted. Valentina's eyes flicked down to her lips. Just for a second. Just enough to make Dakota's heart stutter. Then chaos. Shouting. A tray crashing to the floor. One of the servers pulled a gun from under his jacket. Valentina pushed Dakota behind her in a heartbeat, hand diving into her purse and pulling out a weapon like it was second nature. The ballroom erupted. Screams. Ducking. Running. Security swarming. The would-be assassin barely had time to aim before Valentina fired once. Clean shot, straight to the chest. He dropped. Dakota stood frozen, heart pounding. Jesus, she whispered. Valentina turned to her, completely calm. Are you hurt? I know, I think I peed a little. Charming. You just shot someone. He tried to kill me. I know. And you just it was nothing. It wasn't nothing, Valentina said, quieter now. It was necessary. They were ushered out the back as police swarmed the building. In the car, Dakota was silent for a long time. Valentina finally spoke. Still want the money? I don't care about the money, Dakota said. I care about not being murdered. You won't be. Because of your aim or because of your reputation? Both. At home, Valentina poured them whiskey. Dakota's hands still shook as she took the glass. Is that going to happen often? I hope not. But it might? Yes. Dakota drank. I should be freaking out more. You are. Valentina's voice was quiet. You're just hiding it. You sound impressed. I am. Silence. Then Dakota set her glass down and asked the question burning a hole in her chest. That woman at the gala, Isabella, was she flirting with you? Obviously. Did you like it? Jealousy doesn't suit you. I'm not jealous, Dakota lied. Valentina stepped closer. Yes, you are. I'm not. Prove it. Dakota's breath caught. Valentina was inches away, eyes locked on hers, and the air felt electric. But Valentina didn't kiss her. She didn't move. She just waited. Controlled. Unshakable. Dakota broke first. Fine. Maybe I was jealous. Valentina's mouth curved. Good. Then she walked away, leaving Dakota alone with her racing heart and the terrifying realization that she wasn't pretending anymore. Dakota wasn't supposed to hear anything. She wasn't even supposed to be awake. It was 2:41 a.m. when she padded barefoot down the hallway, trying to find the kitchen without alerting the fortress of armed guards who seemed to materialize every time she sneezed. All she wanted was a damn glass of water and maybe a snack. Instead, what she got was the low, sharp hum of voices behind the double doors of Valentina's office. Doors she'd specifically been told not to approach. Ever. But curiosity was a loudmouth, and Dakota was never good at ignoring rules when they came wrapped in mystery. She crept closer, barefoot and guilty, until she was just close enough to hear. She's a liability. Francesca's voice. Cold, clipped, all edge and no hesitation. She's unpredictable, untrained, and doesn't belong in this world. You're risking everything for a stranger with a sharp mouth and no blood ties. She's my wife, Valentina answered, calm and lethal. That's all anyone needs to know. No, it's not. The council is watching. They won't tolerate another weakness. And if she says the wrong thing to the wrong person, she won't. You don't know that. There was a pause. The kind that prickled along Dakota's skin like warning signs in red neon. You're not thinking clearly, Francesca added. You're letting her get to you. I'm not, Valentina said, but it sounded off. Too quick. Too defensive. I see the way you look at her, Val. Like you're waiting for her to disappear. Dakota backed away from the door before she could hear more. Her heart thudded against her ribs, loud and sick. A liability. A threat. They were right, she didn't belong here. She was a broke comedian with student loans, a caffeine addiction, and zero training in the art of staying alive. She didn't understand this world. But she couldn't ignore the heat in Valentina's voice. The care beneath the calculation. The next morning, Dakota sat at the kitchen table, staring at her toast like it had personally betrayed her. When Valentina entered, flawless as always in a navy silk blouse and slacks that probably cost more than Dakota's last 3 months of rent, Dakota didn't look up. You were out late, she said. Valentina didn't answer immediately. Business. With Francesca. A pause. Yes. Dakota kept her eyes on her plate. So, how long until you decide I'm too much of a risk and have me disappeared? Valentina froze. What? I heard you last night. You were eavesdropping? I was thirsty, Dakota snapped. And apparently also suicidal, since walking past your office means I get classified as a security threat. Valentina walked closer, slow, calculating. You shouldn't have been listening. You shouldn't be talking about getting rid of me like I'm some stray cat you regret feeding. Valentina exhaled through her nose. Not quite angry, controlled. As always, you're not a threat to me. No, Dakota said bitterly. I'm just a convenience. That's not what I said. But it's what you meant. Valentina's jaw clenched. This world isn't safe. It's brutal. Everything I do, everything I've done is about control, order, strategy. You are unpredictable. You scare people. Do I scare you? Dakota asked, voice low. Valentina didn't answer. Right, Dakota said, standing. Thanks for breakfast. I think I've lost my appetite. She left the room before her voice cracked. For the next 2 days, they didn't speak. Not really. Dakota wandered the halls like a ghost. She made sarcastic remarks to the guards, spent hours watching stand-up clips on her phone just to feel like herself again, and tried not to think about how Valentina had looked at her like she was glass. Beautiful, fragile, breakable, untouchable. The silence finally broke during a storm. Thunder shook the house, lightning split the sky, and Dakota sat curled on the massive window seat of the library, watching rain hammer the glass. She didn't hear Valentina come in. She only noticed when a second glass of wine appeared beside her. I don't drink with people who think I'm a mistake, Dakota said without turning. Valentina didn't sit. I don't think you're a mistake. Could have fooled me. Another beat of silence. You weren't supposed to hear that conversation. Well, I did. I was protecting you. Dakota turned, finally facing her. You were protecting yourself. Valentina met her gaze. Yes. And you. You don't get to have it both ways. You can't treat me like an accessory in public and then act like I matter when no one's looking. Valentina's voice dropped, soft and raw. But you do matter. Dakota blinked. Valentina took a breath. You make everything louder. Messier. I don't know how to contain you. But I also can't stop looking at you. Dakota stood slowly, heart pounding. Say that again. Valentina didn't. She just stepped closer. Carefully. Like Dakota was a flame she might get burned by. Why me? Dakota asked. You could have picked anyone. Someone easier. Someone who knows how to be invisible. I don't want invisible, Valentina whispered. I want real. Dakota swallowed hard. You're terrifying. I know. I hate how much I think about kissing you. Valentina's eyes darkened. Then don't think. Dakota's hand moved first, tangled in Valentina's collar, pulling her down. The kiss was all teeth and heat, bruising and breathless. Not soft. Not slow. But real. So painfully real it made Dakota ache. When they broke apart, breathless, Valentina didn't let go. This doesn't change the rules, she said, voice hoarse. Of course not, Dakota replied. Still strictly professional. Exactly. But neither of them moved. Outside, the storm roared. Inside, it was suddenly very quiet. And when Valentina finally turned and walked away, Dakota stayed by the window, lips swollen, chest burning, knowing one thing for certain. They were both lying. Dakota hadn't slept. Not really. After the kiss, after Valentina walked out without another word, she had returned to her room, paced for 2 hours, then spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling and wondering what the hell was happening to her. She told herself it was the tension, the adrenaline, the weird, surreal nature of being fake married to a mafia boss, but none of those things explained why her chest physically ached whenever she thought about the way Valentina had looked at her, like she mattered, like she was dangerous in a way Valentina didn't know how to fight. The next morning, breakfast was quiet. Again. But different this time. Heavier. Charged. Valentina sat at the head of the table in a tailored black blouse and gold earrings, calm and unreadable, while Dakota poked at her fruit salad with the emotional energy of a teenager pretending not to care about prom. You're quiet, Valentina said. Dakota shrugged, trying not to make waves. Since when? Dakota looked up sharply, but Valentina wasn't teasing. She was watching, calculating, waiting. Francesca entered the room like a cold front and handed Valentina a thick folder.
There's movement, she said.
Zanetti's people made contact with one of ours. Not a direct threat, but close. Dakota frowned. Who's Zanetti? Francesca gave her a look like she was a particularly annoying mosquito. A rival family. One that wouldn't hesitate to exploit your presence. You mean my marriage to Valentina? I mean your existence here. You're a weakness they could use. Francesca, Valentina warned. Francesca's lips thinned. We need to increase security. Starting now. Fine, Valentina said. Assign 4 to the house perimeter and rotate Dakota's protection every 6 hours. Dakota blinked. Wait, I get protection now? Like, bodyguards? Yes, Valentina said without looking at her. Constant. Even when I pee? That got Valentina's eyes. Don't push it. Dakota raised her hands. Hey, I'm flattered. Never had a personal SWAT team before. Francesca left without another word, tension swirling in her wake like smoke. Dakota stood and followed Valentina into her office without asking. So, are people actually trying to kill me now? Not yet. Comforting. Valentina sighed, rubbing her temple. The Zanetti family sees opportunity. They think this marriage is a bluff. A joke. They're testing me. And I'm the weak link. You're not weak. But I am a link, Dakota said. And you can't control me, can you? Valentina didn't answer. She didn't need to. The look in her eyes said enough. We need to be careful, she said instead. From now on, you don't leave the estate unless I say so. You don't talk to anyone I haven't approved. And you do not wander off. You know, for someone who kissed me like she meant it, you're doing a great job of treating me like luggage. Valentina's gaze snapped to hers. Don't what? Don't confuse heat with affection. So, it was just heat? Dakota said, stepping closer. Because from where I was standing, it felt like something else. Valentina didn't back away. But she didn't move forward either. She stood perfectly still, like any movement might shatter the wall she was trying so hard to rebuild. I can't afford distraction, she said softly. Too bad, Dakota murmured. Because I'm not going anywhere. She turned and walked out before she could say something stupid, like I'm already in too deep. By afternoon, 2 new guards had joined the rotation. One was quiet and polite. The other looked like he ate cinder blocks for breakfast. Dakota tested their patience by making them taste her lunch before eating it. If I'm going to be a target, she said cheerfully, I want to go out knowing my sandwich wasn't poisoned. Later that evening, the house grew strangely quiet. Valentina had been gone for hours, something about a council meeting, and Dakota was bored enough to wander, against explicit orders. She told herself she wasn't eavesdropping again. She was just exploring. She found herself near the West Wing, a part of the house she hadn't seen yet. No guards. No movement. And then voices. Familiar. She crept closer. Francesca's voice again. The girl is too involved. A man answered. Low and clipped. You want me to handle it?
No.
Not yet. But if she steps out of line, we end it. Dakota's stomach flipped. She backed away slowly, heart hammering. She didn't recognize the man's voice, but the threat was clear. She was being watched, measured, and maybe marked. That night, when Valentina returned, Dakota was waiting for her in the bedroom hallway. Can we talk? She asked. Valentina stopped, surprised.
Now.
She pulled her into the bedroom and shut the door. Your people are planning to kill me. Valentina stiffened. What did you hear? Enough. Francesca thinks I'm a threat. Some mystery guy offered to handle it. This is your world, Valentina, but I'm not stupid. If I screw up, they'll put a bullet in me and call it a Tuesday. Valentina's face was unreadable. You shouldn't have been there. I didn't go looking for secrets. They just keep falling in my lap. I won't let anything happen to you. You say that, Dakota whispered, stepping closer. But you're not just fighting enemies out there. You're fighting them in here. She pressed her hand to Valentina's chest over her heart. And I think you're losing. Valentina caught her wrist, not rough but firm. You're in danger, Dakota. This isn't a story. It's survival. Then teach me, Dakota said. Let me be more than decoration. More than a liability. I'm not fragile, Valentina. I just need you to stop treating me like glass. Silence. Long, heavy. And then Valentina did something unexpected. She let go. She looked at Dakota, not with frustration or command, but with something closer to surrender. Tomorrow, she said quietly, I'll show you how to shoot. Dakota's breath caught. That's romantic. It's necessary. Can it be both? Valentina's lips curved. Almost. You're impossible. You married me, Dakota said. That's on you. Don't remind me. But she didn't move away. And when Dakota leaned in, just a breath from her lips, Valentina didn't pull back. If we're going to be a team, Dakota whispered, we start now. Valentina nodded. And just like that, something shifted. Not love. Not yet.
But trust.
And in a world where loyalty meant everything, that was far more dangerous. Dakota had never held a gun before.
Not a real one, anyway.
She'd joked about it on stage, sure, cracked wise about action movies, American paranoia, the absurdity of packing heat in a world that barely made sense. But standing in the middle of Valentina's private shooting range, flanked by two silent guards and watched like a hawk by the most intimidating woman alive, the jokes dried up fast. The weapon in her hands was cold and heavy. Like consequence. Like power. This feels illegal, she muttered, adjusting her grip. Valentina stood behind her, voice low and calm in her ear. It is. Everything about your life now is technically illegal. Comforting. Stop holding it like it's a dead rat. Relax your shoulders. Keep your elbows tucked. Easy for you to say, Mob Queen. Try not to shoot your foot. That would be hard to explain to the family. Oh, you mean the ones who already think I'm a time bomb in heels? Dakota.
Right.
Focus.
Got it.
She took a breath, steadied her hands, aimed at the paper target shaped like a faceless man, and fired. The kickback nearly dislocated her shoulder. The bullet missed by a mile. Holy crap, she shouted, stumbling. It attacked me. It's a gun, Valentina said, trying not to smirk. It's supposed to. You're enjoying this. Only slightly. That's sick. That's honesty. For the next hour, Valentina guided her. Step by step, bullet by bullet. She corrected her stance, her breathing, her grip. She stood close, hands brushing Dakota's waist, shoulder, wrist. Every touch sparking heat where there should have been nothing. It was supposed to be tactical, clinical. But there was nothing cold about the way Valentina's fingers lingered. Nothing professional about the way Dakota's pulse responded. You're improving, Valentina said after Dakota managed to hit the edge of the target twice. Shooting at cardboard is one thing. Shooting at someone who wants to kill me is less relaxing. That's why you'll have protection. And me. You keep saying that, like it's a guarantee. It is, Valentina said simply. As long as you're mine, no one touches you. The words were soft. Possessive. Dakota should have been terrified. Instead, she felt something far more dangerous, safe. That night, back in her room, she stared at the ceiling again. Not from nerves this time, but from confusion. Her body still hummed with the memory of Valentina's hands, her voice, the way she'd watched Dakota hit the target like it meant something. Like she was proud.
No one looked at her like that.
Not her parents. Not her agent. Not the half-dozen exes who had all labeled her too much. Valentina didn't seem overwhelmed by her chaos. She seemed intrigued by it.
Drawn in.
Like she didn't want Dakota to be smaller, softer, easier. She just wanted her to survive. The next morning, everything changed. It started with a gift. A velvet box left on her bed, wrapped in a dark ribbon. Inside, a custom holster and a sleek, compact handgun. Engraved on the grip was a single word, Walsh. Dakota stared at it, stunned. When Valentina entered the room a few minutes later, Dakota turned slowly. You bought me a gun. It's not a bouquet, but it sends a message. That message being, shoot to kill. That message being, you belong here now. Dakota blinked. You had it engraved. You're not just some pawn, Dakota. Not anymore. Is this a proposal? You're already my wife.
Still.
It's kind of romantic. Don't let the council hear you say that.
Why?
Because they're here. All of them. Meeting. Today. Wait, what? The heads of the families. Francesca called them in. There's unrest. Whispers about betrayal. Someone's leaking information. You think it's one of them? I think it's someone inside this house. That stopped Dakota cold. A traitor? Yes. And you think they're close? I know they are. That afternoon, the house transformed. Guards at every door. Cameras checked. Rooms swept. Francesca oversaw everything, cold and precise. The other families arrived, elegant, cutthroat, dripping with charm and threat. Dakota stayed close to Valentina's side, silent, observant. Watching. She saw how they looked at Valentina, calculating, suspicious. She saw the subtle gestures, the half-smiles that meant nothing kind. And she saw, most disturbingly, how one of the new guards, someone she didn't recognize, watched her. Not Valentina. Her. Too long. Too steady. Too familiar. That night, while the house quieted and the meeting wrapped up behind thick doors, Dakota wandered into the gallery hallway. Her bodyguard followed. The one with the too steady gaze. She stopped walking. I don't know you, she said. The man smiled. I know you. That's creepy. It's survival. Okay, that's worse. She reached slowly for the inside of her jacket, where her new weapon rested. He noticed. Smiled wider. You won't need that. I really think I might. You've caused quite the stir, Mrs. Marcelo. Funny. I don't remember inviting you to stalk me. You're in over your head. I know how to swim. Not in these waters. He stepped closer. Dakota drew the gun. He froze, grinning like it was a game. Feisty. Back off. You won't shoot me. Try me. The tension snapped like a cable. A second later, another voice sliced through the air. Lower your weapon. Valentina. Behind him.
Cold.
Controlled.
Deadly.
The man froze. Dakota didn't. She kept the gun raised, breath sharp, stance steady. Valentina stepped closer, gun in hand. Turn around. Slowly. He obeyed. She searched him. Found nothing. But her voice when she spoke again was pure steel. You're done. Get out of my house. You don't give me orders. You work for me. And if I ever see you near her again, I'll bury you myself. The man hesitated. Then left.
Fast.
Valentina turned to Dakota. You drew on him. I watched you teach me. You were steady. I was scared. You didn't flinch. You were watching. Valentina's gaze softened. Always. For the second time in less than a week, Dakota was shaking. But this time, not from fear. From adrenaline. From power. From being seen. You were right, she whispered.
About what?
That gun is better than flowers. Valentina smiled, slow and real. You're learning. And surviving. With me you will. What if I don't want to just survive? Then what do you want? Dakota stepped closer. I want to win. And for once, Valentina didn't argue. The problem with pretending to be a mafia wife wasn't the pretending. It was how easily the lies started feeling like the truth. Dakota realized this the moment Valentina touched the small of her back at dinner. Barely a graze, something that should have gone unnoticed, and she felt her entire nervous system light up like fireworks over the strip. Valentina hadn't meant anything by it. At least, Dakota didn't think she had. But her body didn't care. It reacted like it was real. Like they were real. And that was dangerous. Dinner was a tense affair. The heads of the families had come and gone, leaving behind a thick residue of suspicion in the air. Francesca sat at Valentina's right, tense and observant. while Dakota played the role of perfect wife, smiling, quiet, watching everything. But something was off. Not just with Francesca, who'd been unusually silent, but with the guards. One of them, Anton, a man Dakota had seen Valentina trust implicitly, hadn't shown up all day. She noticed. Valentina hadn't said anything about it. That worried her more. After the meal, Valentina disappeared into her office. Dakota waited 15 minutes, then followed. She didn't knock. She never knocked anymore. Valentina looked up from behind her desk, half surprised, half amused. "Do you ever wait to be invited?" "Not when I know you want me here," Dakota said. Valentina's mouth twitched. "Careful. You're starting to sound like my wife. Wouldn't want to break character." "Of course not." Dakota moved closer. "Where's Anton?" Valentina's expression shuddered. "Why?" "Because he hasn't been here all day. And yesterday, he was the one checking every camera feed before the council arrived." Valentina didn't answer immediately. "He's missing." "Missing like on vacation? Or potentially dead?" "I'm not sure yet." "That's not comforting." "I'm not here to comfort you." "No," Dakota said, softer now, "but sometimes I think you want to." Valentina looked at her, eyes sharp but tired. "I want you safe. That's all." "Is it?" Silence. Charged. Then Valentina stood. "There's something I need to ask you to do." "Tell me." "There's a shipment arriving tomorrow. I need someone on the inside to act like a leak. Feed false intel. Draw out the traitor." Dakota blinked. "You want me to lie to a potential killer?" "They won't suspect you. You're the outsider. The accidental wife. No one thinks you'd be trusted with information. So you want me to act like a pawn while being bait?" "Exactly. You're insane. And you're the one who agreed to this marriage." "Touché." Valentina stepped closer. "You don't have to do it. I can find someone else." "No," Dakota said, surprising even herself. "I'll do it." "Why?" "Because you trust me." "I do. And because if I can help you win, I want that." Valentina didn't smile, but her hand brushed Dakota's cheek. Just once. Brief. Devastating. "You'll meet Francesca tomorrow at 7 a.m. She'll give you the file. Keep your story simple. You overheard something. You passed it along. Make it believable." "You think I can lie under pressure?" "I think you lie to yourself every day about how you feel about me. This won't be harder than that." Dakota wanted to kiss her. She didn't. Instead, she left before her heart gave her away. Morning came too fast. Francesca met her in the greenhouse. It was early, the light golden and cruel, filtering through the glass ceiling. Dakota stood in front of her, wearing a simple gray jacket, hands shoved into her pockets to hide the way they trembled. Francesca handed her a slim folder. "This information leads to a fake location. When they take the bait, we'll be watching." "You're sure this'll work?" "We're sure someone's listening. We just don't know who. And if they find out it was me?" Francesca stared at her. "Then let's hope you're better at lying than I think." The exchange happened that afternoon. A brief encounter in the outer courtyard. A whisper in the ear of a suspiciously curious maid who had lingered too long by Francesca's door. Dakota said the lines exactly as rehearsed. She pretended to hesitate, pretended to worry, pretended to slip. Then she walked away with her heart in her throat and the sick feeling that if she was wrong, someone innocent might die. That night, Valentina joined her on the balcony. They stood in silence, shoulder to shoulder, the city lights pulsing in the distance like a heartbeat. "You did well," Valentina said. "You don't know that yet. I do. If this goes sideways, it won't." "You can't promise that." "No," Valentina said. "But I can promise I'll protect you. Even if it costs you everything." Valentina turned to her. "You already cost me everything." The words hit like thunder. Dakota couldn't breathe. She didn't want to cry. Didn't want to admit how badly she wanted those words to mean more than they did. But then Valentina reached for her hand. Held it. Just that. No kiss. No dramatics. Just the quiet press of fingers that meant more than 1,000 promises. The next morning, a body was found outside the estate. The maid. Throat slit. Message carved into her skin. Liars die bleeding. Dakota vomited in the sink. Valentina stood behind her, hand on her back, stone-faced. She wasn't the traitor. Dakota choked.
No.
She was bait. I killed her. You didn't. Yes, I did. Valentina turned her around, hands on her shoulders. This is war, Dakota. You don't get to feel clean in it. You don't get to save everyone. Then what do we get? Dakota whispered. Each other, Valentina said. If we're lucky. Dakota leaned into her. Just a little. Just enough. And Valentina let her. The blood was gone by morning, but Dakota could still feel it. In her palms. Behind her eyes. In the sick weight that had settled deep in her chest like concrete. The maid hadn't deserved to die. She'd been background noise, an innocent caught in crossfire she hadn't even seen coming. And now she was a message. A warning. A sacrifice to a game Dakota didn't know the rules to. But Valentina did. And that scared her more than anything. The house was quieter than usual.
Too quiet.
Even the guards moved slower, more deliberate, like the air had thickened into something dangerous. Francesca didn't speak to her. Not even a glance. And Valentina was disappearing into herself. She hadn't spoken more than 10 words since they'd found the body. Dakota watched her from across the breakfast table, eyes tracing the tight set of her jaw, the fingers clenched around her coffee mug, the mask she wore like a second skin. Unbreakable. Untouchable. But Dakota had kissed that mouth. She'd touched that skin. And she knew now that masks didn't mean safety. They meant survival. Say something, Dakota said quietly. Valentina didn't look up. There's nothing to say. She's dead. I know. And it doesn't affect you? It does. Then why won't you show it? Valentina's eyes flicked up, sharp, cold, lethal. Because grief doesn't keep people alive. Control does. Dakota stood, pushing her chair back. You keep telling yourself that. She left the room without waiting for permission. She didn't need it anymore. Hours passed. Dakota wandered. Avoided the West Wing. Avoided the memory of what she'd heard there. Instead, she found herself in the oldest part of the house, where the windows were stained glass and the walls still whispered in Italian. She pushed open a door at the end of a narrow hallway and found something unexpected. A piano.
Dusty.
Untuned. But real. She sat, hesitated, then let her fingers find the keys. She played badly.
Clumsy.
But honest. And for the first time in days, her hands didn't shake. Behind her, someone spoke. I didn't know you played. Valentina. Dakota kept playing, her back to the door. I don't. Not really. My dad tried to teach me before he left.
A pause.
You were good. Liar. I don't lie to you. Dakota turned. No, just everyone else. That's different.
How?
Because when I lie to them, it's strategy. With you, I can't afford to lie. Dakota stood. Then tell me the truth. About what? About why you're really doing all this. The marriage.
The show.
The dinners. The risk. Valentina didn't move. But something in her shifted. Because I thought if I looked like I had everything under control, maybe no one would see how close I am to losing it all. And now? Dakota asked. Now you're here. And I don't know if that's made things better or worse. The words cut deep, but the honesty in them made Dakota stay. I'm not leaving, she said. You should. Maybe. But I won't.
Silence.
Then Valentina walked to the piano. She touched one of the keys. It made a sad, broken sound. I killed someone when I was 14, she said. The confession hung in the air like smoke. Dakota blinked. What? My uncle. He tried to take control after my father died. He said a woman couldn't lead. That I should be married off. That I was just a name to be traded. So I waited until he was drunk. And I shot him.
Dakota's throat went dry.
Jesus. Francesca, help me hide the body. The council called it an accident. But everyone knew. And they still let you lead?
They didn't have a choice.
I made myself indispensable. By becoming like them? By becoming worse. Dakota stepped closer. Is that what you think you have to be with me? No, Valentina said, voice rough. With you, I don't know how to be anything. Try. Valentina looked at her, eyes wide and terrified in a way Dakota had never seen. Why do you stay? She asked. Why haven't you run? Dakota exhaled slowly. Because even when you terrify me, you never lie to me. And because for some messed up reason, I want to be here when you figure out how to be something else. Valentina stepped closer. What if I can't? Then I'll remind you. Valentina kissed her. Not like the first time. Urgent, angry, impulsive. This kiss was slower. Deeper. Like surrender. Like confession. When they broke apart, they stood forehead to forehead, the air between them thick with something that tasted like inevitability. You're not what I expected, Valentina whispered. Neither are you. They slept in the same bed that night. Not for sex. Not for safety. Just to breathe the same air. Just to hold on to something solid in a world where everything else was slipping. In the dark, Dakota whispered, You still don't trust Francesca, do you? Valentina didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence said enough. The next morning, Dakota woke to find Valentina gone. And a note on the pillow. Just 3 words. Trust no one. Her heart dropped. Because suddenly, being afraid of the outside world didn't feel like the problem anymore. The real danger might already be inside the house. Dakota didn't panic at first. She told herself Valentina had a reason. A plan. That disappearing was part of some elaborate move to draw out the traitor, to stay 2 steps ahead of whoever had turned the Marcelo estate into a chessboard of death threats and blood-soaked warnings. But as the minutes stretched into hours and the guards gave nothing but shrugs and silence, the fear began to settle deep in her gut like cold lead. No one had seen Valentina leave. No car logs. No security alerts. No trail. Just a perfectly made bed, a sealed envelope with those 3 words, trust no one, and an absence that tasted like abandonment. Francesca was calm.
Too calm.
She claimed Valentina had gone to secure a deal and left Dakota under her protection. But Dakota had seen enough of this world by now to know when someone was lying. And Francesca was lying.
She just didn't know why. Or what it meant.
So Dakota did the only thing she could. She started asking questions. She circled the guards. Picked at the edges of conversations. Walked the halls like a ghost with sharp ears and sharper instincts. And what she found wasn't just unsettling, it was terrifying. Valentina had been planning to reorganize the family. Quietly. Strategically. She wanted to retire some of the old blood, redistribute power, bring in outsiders. Modernize the organization. Francesca was against it. So were a few of the higher-tier capos. They called it weakness. Valentina called it survival. And now she was gone. If I were a paranoid person, Dakota whispered to herself, I'd say someone wanted her out of the picture. She found the first real clue 2 days later. Hidden in the back of Valentina's office, beneath a loose floor tile. A second envelope. Inside, a flash drive. Labeled in Valentina's handwriting. If I don't come back. Dakota plugged it into the secure laptop Valentina had given her weeks ago. No password. No encryption. Just a video. Valentina appeared on the screen, seated in the same chair Dakota now sat in. Her face was pale. Tired. But her voice was steady. If you're watching this, it means something went wrong. It means I didn't trust anyone else enough to leave this with them. Not even Francesca. Especially not Francesca. Dakota froze. I think someone close to me is working with Zanetti, the recording continued. We had a mole. I thought it was dealt with. I was wrong. Francesca's loyalty isn't what it used to be. She says she's protecting me, but lately it feels more like she's controlling me. If I disappear, don't believe anything she says. Don't stay here. Get out. or finish what I started. The screen went black. Dakota sat there for a full minute, heart slamming against her ribs. Then she stood and packed a bag. She didn't know where Valentina was, but she knew where to start. Zanetti's main front was a casino on the outskirts of Vegas, legitimate on paper, filthy in truth. If someone had betrayed Valentina, that's where the trail would lead. Dakota slipped out of the estate dressed in black, hood up, nerves high. She'd never broken into anything before, but she'd performed in some truly terrible venues. How different could this be? She bribed her way in,
Smiled at the right guards.
flirted where it helped, and by midnight, she was inside Zanetti's casino, playing the role of harmless drunk girl at the bar. The bartender looked bored. The men at the high roller tables looked dangerous. And then she saw him, Anton,
Alive.
laughing, drinking beside a Zanetti enforcer. Dakota's blood turned to ice. She approached slowly. Anton's smile faded when he saw her. Dakota? Surprised to see me? She asked, keeping her voice light. You're supposed to be safe at home? Under house arrest? Waiting like a good little wife. Anton stood. You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere until you tell me where she is. I don't know. Liar. The Zanetti man stood as well. Who's the girl?
She's no one, Anton said.
Just Valentina's trophy. That's cute, Dakota said. You still taking orders from Francesca? Or did you finally upgrade to full betrayal? Anton's expression shifted, narrowed. You're going to get yourself killed. Not before I find her. She's gone. Not to me. The Zanetti man reached for her. Dakota moved first. A broken bottle. A flash of pain. Then a gun in her hand, the one Valentina gave her. Tell Francesca I'm not playing anymore, she said, breathless, voice shaking but clear. And if she touches Valentina, I'll burn this whole damn empire to the ground. She ran. Escaped through the back alley, blood on her jacket, a cut on her arm, adrenaline screaming through her veins. She didn't stop until she was blocks away, hiding behind a dumpster, gasping for air and shaking like a leaf. Her phone buzzed. A blocked number. She answered. Dakota. Valentina's voice. Raspy.
Alive. Barely.
Where are you?
Dakota breathed.
Jesus, Valentina, where the hell? Listen. I don't have long. I'm safe.
For now.
But you can't go back to the house. Francesca, I know. She's working with Zanetti. Anton, too. I saw him. I'm coming back. But I need you to do something first. Anything. There's a safe in my bedroom. Behind the mirror. Inside, there's a red folder.
Get it.
Hide it. If Francesca finds it before I get back, I've got it.
Just come back.
Please. Soon, Valentina whispered. I promise. The line went dead. Dakota didn't cry. She stood.
Walked.
Found a cab. And when she reached the estate, she didn't sneak in. She marched through the front door like a ghost with unfinished business. Francesca was waiting. You've been gone. So have you, Dakota said, eyes cold. Let's stop pretending. Excuse me? I know you're working with Zanetti. I know Anton's alive. I know Valentina didn't disappear. You made her run. Francesca's face didn't move, but her eyes burned. Be careful, Dakota.
No.
You be careful, because she's coming back. And when she does, I'll be ready. Francesca stepped forward. You think this ends with a happy reunion? I think it ends with you in the ground. Dakota turned and walked away. Behind her, the air crackled with rage. But she didn't flinch. She went straight to Valentina's room. Found the mirror. The safe. The folder. Inside, names. Accounts. Records. Enough to tear the entire organization apart. And a photo, Dakota, asleep in Valentina's bed. On the back, in handwriting she recognized, if I don't make it, she's everything. Dakota pressed the paper to her chest, breath trembling. You're not dying, she whispered. Not before I tell you that I love you. The storm broke just after midnight. Not the kind in the sky, though the clouds outside rumbled like the heavens were angry. This storm came with boots on marble, with voices raised in a dozen languages, with the metallic click of safeties being switched off. Francesca had made her move. Dakota heard it before she saw it. Orders barked. Radios crackling. The shuffle of new guards in the hall. Valentina's people, what was left of them, being quietly replaced one by one. And the silence from the estate's upper floors, the silence that pressed like a hand to her throat. Dakota didn't run. She waited, dressed in black, hair tied back, gun strapped to her thigh, the red folder hidden beneath the floorboard in her room. Valentina had said she was coming back. But if she didn't make it in time, Dakota would do what had to be done. She'd burn the whole thing down before she let Francesca take it. The door opened without warning. Francesca stepped inside like she owned the world. She didn't flinch when she saw Dakota standing there, armed. She didn't blink. "So, this is how it ends?" Dakota asked, voice steady. "You walk in here and pretend like you haven't gutted this family from the inside?" "It's not about gutting it," Francesca replied. "It's about saving it." Valentina was weak, blinded by sentiment. By you. She was trying to rebuild something better. She was trying to dismantle the old ways. You don't do that in this world and live. You don't get to decide who lives. I do now. Francesca raised her hand. 3 men entered. Armed. Faces unreadable. Dakota raised her gun. "Try me." The men hesitated. Dakota smiled. "Thought so." "You won't shoot me," Francesca said. "You don't have it in you." "No." Dakota asked. "You had Valentina hunted down. You betrayed everything she stood for. You're about to find out exactly what I have in me." Then a second voice answered for her. "She doesn't have to." The sound of that voice nearly dropped Dakota to her knees.
Low. Sharp.
Familiar.
Alive.
Valentina, stepping through the shadows like she'd been carved from them, dressed in black, blood on her sleeve, eyes glowing with vengeance. A gun in each hand. "You're supposed to be dead," Francesca hissed. "You've been trying to kill me for years," Valentina said. "You've just never had the guts to pull the trigger yourself." Francesca didn't move. "You don't want to do this. You put a blade to my throat and then acted surprised when I bled," Valentina said. "Now you're going to find out what happens when I stop pretending you're family." She fired once.
Clean.
The bullet ripped through Francesca's thigh. She screamed.
Fell.
The guards raised their weapons. Dakota moved before she could think. 1 shot.
2.
Valentina dropped a third. The room went still. Dakota stood over Francesca, heart racing, smoke rising from her gun. "Call your dogs off." Francesca clutched her leg. "You'll never hold the family after this." "I'm not planning to," Valentina said. "But I'll bury anyone who thinks they can take it from me before I'm ready." In the aftermath, cleanup was swift and silent. Francesca was taken, alive, barely. The traitors rooted out. The estate locked down. But the damage was done. Blood soaked into the carpet. Shadows lingered in the corners. And Dakota couldn't stop shaking. Not until Valentina found her hours later, curled on the floor of the piano room, clutching the gun like it was the only thing keeping her whole. "Hey," Valentina said softly. Dakota didn't look up. "I thought you were dead." "I know. I thought I'd have to do this without you." "You didn't. I killed someone. You survived." "I didn't want to feel this way," Dakota whispered. "I didn't want to love you." Valentina knelt, pulled the gun gently from her hands. "I didn't want to love you either." Silence. Then Dakota looked at her.
Raw.
Unfiltered. "So now what?" Valentina brushed a strand of hair from her face. "Now we rebuild. But this time on our terms. Together? Always." The next morning, the sun rose red. Fitting. Valentina took the head seat at the table. Dakota at her side. Francesca was gone. The traitors exiled. The loyal remained. Whispers filled the halls about the woman who'd returned from the dead and the wife who'd stood with her through fire. Power was reestablished. But something else had been forged in the ashes, something stronger than strategy. Something more dangerous than bloodlines.
Love. Real.
Tangled. Unforgiving. Dakota reached for Valentina's hand under the table. Valentina didn't pull away. She never would again. The blood had been cleaned, the bodies buried, the estate quiet again, but nothing about it felt peaceful. Power had returned to Valentina's hands, but power was never silent. It watched, waited, whispered. Dakota felt it in every hallway she crossed, in every look from the remaining guards, in every breath Valentina took that didn't sound like it came easy anymore. Victory had a weight, and they were both carrying it. Valentina spent the next 2 days in meetings. The heads of what remained loyal to her came crawling back, offering apologies dipped in gold and promises wrapped in diplomacy. She listened, nodded, said all the right things. But Dakota watched her from the shadows and saw what no one else did, the exhaustion she never named, the crack in her voice when she thought no one was listening, the way she flinched at certain names, certain memories. Francesca had been more than betrayal. She had been family. And Valentina had pulled the trigger herself. That kind of wound didn't bleed. It settled under the skin and waited for quiet moments to strike. Dakota didn't ask questions. Not at first. She just stayed close. Shared a bed they didn't talk about.
Cooked meals no one asked her to.
Sat in the piano room when the noise got too loud, even if she couldn't play. She was presence. She was silence. She was there. Until Valentina finally broke it. "I can't sleep," she whispered one night. Dakota rolled over, eyes adjusting to the dim light. Nightmares?
No.
Just waiting. For what? For the next knife in my back. Dakota didn't say anything for a moment. Then she reached over and touched Valentina's arm. Not demanding. Not gentle. Just there. "You don't have to sleep alone anymore," she said. "Even if you can't sleep, I'll be here. Breathing with you." Valentina turned her head. Their eyes met in the dark. And for the first time, the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was comforting. Like an agreement they didn't have to speak. The next day, a letter arrived. No return address. Just a seal, Zanetti. Valentina read it alone. Then burned it. Dakota watched from across the garden, seated on the stone bench where they sometimes had tea like two women who hadn't killed anyone. "Zanetti," she asked when Valentina joined her. "They're not happy," Valentina said simply. "You killed some of theirs?"
No.
"I refused a deal. They wanted me to give up our southern territories in exchange for peace. And you said no. I don't negotiate with vultures. You are a little vulture yourself, you know. Only on good days." Dakota reached for her hand. "So, what does this mean?" "It means they'll move.
Soon."
Subtle at first. Then not so much. "And we're ready?" "Almost." "Valentina, yes. If I lose you now, after everything, we won't get another chance." Valentina looked at her like she was memorizing her. "You're not going to lose me. You can't promise that." "I can promise I'll fight like hell not to make you a widow." Dakota smiled, small and aching. Romantic. "I try." That night, as rain hammered the estate like warning drums, Valentina called everyone loyal into the war room. Dakota stood beside her, not behind her. A place earned, not given. "Zanetti will move within the week," Valentina said. "We don't wait for it. We get ahead of it. Quietly.
Brutally.
Completely. Plans were made. Resources divided. And when someone asked who would lead the southern enforcement, Valentina didn't hesitate. "Dakota will." The room went still. Even Dakota blinked. "Me? You've earned it. I don't speak their language. You speak survival. That's not the same as strategy." "It is now." After the meeting, Dakota cornered her in the hallway. What the hell was that? Trust. Or insanity? Both. "You're ready." "How do you know?" "Because you're scared," Valentina said, stepping closer. "And scared people don't take stupid risks. They calculate. They adapt. They survive." You're seriously putting your territory in my hands? I already put my heart there. What's the difference? Dakota kissed her.
Fierce. Needy. Certain.
Not because it would fix anything, but because it was the only thing in this world that ever felt undeniably hers. When they broke apart, Valentina rested her forehead against hers. Don't get killed, she whispered. Same to you, boss lady. God help me, I love you. Too late for God now. The next morning, Dakota left with a car and 3 of Valentina's most trusted men.
South.
Toward the edge of their control. Toward the place where borders blurred and rules didn't matter. She sat in the back seat, gun across her lap, heart thundering in her ears. She wasn't a comic anymore. She wasn't the accidental wife. She was something else now. Something sharp. Something feared. Something in love. The road stretched ahead, long and full of ghosts. But she'd learned from the best. And if death came, she'd meet it with a smile and a loaded clip. The Southern Territory wasn't a war zone. It was worse, calm.
Too calm.
The kind of quiet that made Dakota's instinct scream.
The kind of quiet that didn't last.
She arrived under cover of dusk, boots on cracked pavement, 3 guards at her back and a name that opened doors just wide enough to glimpse the noose behind them. Marcelo's wife, they whispered. The funny girl who turned into a killer. They didn't laugh. Not anymore. Dakota didn't smile either. She walked into the safe house like it belonged to her and made it true. She read the reports, took meetings, watched people lie to her with their eyes while smiling with their mouths. And when she found 2 of Valentina's men siphoning money off the books, she didn't blink, she fired. 1 lived. 1 didn't. Message sent. Dakota wasn't pretending anymore. But while she played soldier and queen, Valentina was fighting shadows of her own. Back at the estate, a name from the dead reappeared. Matteo Ricci, her father's old lieutenant. Exiled years ago. Brutal. Unstable. A relic of the old ways who'd vanished before Valentina ever took the throne. Now he was back, with scars, with soldiers, and with a vendetta older than blood. You were just a child when your father died, he said, standing in the gardens like a ghost who didn't believe in doors. I should have taken the seat. I should have ended you then. Valentina didn't move. You should have stayed dead. But then I miss the look on your face when you lose everything. You don't scare me.
No, he said.
But she does.
He tossed a photo at her feet.
Dakota, in the south. Target marked. Valentina's heart didn't just drop, it shattered. She lunged. Gun raised. But Ricci was already gone. The warning stayed. And so did the fear. She called immediately. No answer. Dakota's line rang.
Once. Twice.
Then her voice. Not live. A recording. Leave a message or find me the old-fashioned way. Good luck with that. Valentina didn't leave a message. She didn't have time for hope. In the south, Dakota was bleeding. Literally. Ambushed outside a warehouse. The deal she was supposed to supervise turned into a trap. The driver dead. 1 guard missing. 1 holding pressure to her side while she growled through gritted teeth. If I die, I'm going to haunt every last one of these bastards. They got her out.
Barely.
She refused a hospital. Too risky. Too exposed. Instead, she sat on a metal table in a basement while someone stitched her up with shaking hands. Tell Valentina I'm fine, she said. Tell her I said I win. But no one called. The lines were dark. The air poisoned. Something was moving.
Fast.
And in the quiet moments, between pain and painkillers, Dakota realized what it was. This wasn't about money. Or land. It was about her. Valentina's enemies didn't want to kill Dakota to hurt Valentina. They wanted to kill Dakota because she had become Valentina's weakness. And in this world, weakness bled. By nightfall, the compound was under siege. Bullets cracked the silence like thunder. Dakota led the defense. Limping.
Pale.
Ruthless. She shot 2 men herself. Ordered the rest into defensive positions. The safe house held. Barely. When dawn came, the walls were scorched and the bodies removed, But Dakota stood, blood-soaked.
Alive. Just barely.
And then at the gate, Valentina. Not an army. Not guards. Just her. Dressed in black. Eyes burning. Dakota saw her. And for the first time in 2 days, let her knees buckle. Valentina caught her. You idiot, she whispered. You beautiful, reckless idiot. Hey, Dakota breathed. I won, didn't I? You almost died. But I didn't. You scared the hell out of me. Now you know how I felt when you disappeared. Valentina held her tighter. No words, just the sound of breathing, of hearts beating out of sync and then slowly aligning. Later, in a borrowed bed, stitched and sore, Dakota looked at her. Richie's back. I know. He wants you. He wants us. Then let's give him something to be afraid of. Valentina smiled. Slow. Vicious. I was hoping you'd say that. Do we have a plan? I have you. That's not a plan. It's better. And maybe it was. Because the next day, Dakota didn't wait for orders. She took them. Owned them. Her name stopped being an accident. It became a threat. And Richie? He started bleeding people before he even got close. Because what he didn't understand, what none of them understood, was that you don't destroy a woman like Valentina by touching what she loves. You just give her something to kill for. The safe house was no longer a shelter. It had become a war room. Maps spread across tables. Phones charged and guarded. Men with haunted eyes leaning over blueprints of death. And in the center of it all, Valentina and Dakota, shoulder to shoulder, minds synced like twin engines fueled by rage, strategy, and something softer they never spoke of in front of soldiers. Richie wasn't just attacking their empire. He was unraveling Valentina's legacy, thread by thread. The families that had returned to her side after Francesca's fall were beginning to question again. If she couldn't protect her wife, how could she protect them? The council, once silent, was starting to speak. In coded messages. In money withheld. In threats disguised as advice. They smell weakness, Valentina muttered, fingers tightening around the edge of the table. I made them believe I was untouchable. Now they see I bleed. Dakota stood behind her, hands on her shoulders. Then let's remind them what happens when they get too close to the knife. That was the plan. Not defense. Not retreat. Not compromise. A trap. Built with lies and bait and blood. Richie's network was wide but arrogant. He believed Valentina would never risk Dakota again. He believed wrong. We leak intel, Dakota said. We make him think I'm being moved again. Alone. Through neutral territory. No guards. Just a car. Just me. He'll take the shot, Valentina said. Exactly. It's risky. So was marrying you. You were drunk. You were too. You were barefoot in a Vegas chapel. You were carrying a gun under your wedding dress. And you still said, I do. I'd say it again. Silence. A breath. A look. Then Valentina nodded. Let's kill a ghost. The trap was set in motion within hours. A trusted courier overheard the plan. A car prepared. A route chosen. Snipers hidden. Reinforcements waiting. Dakota insisted on riding alone. He won't come out if he sees you, she said. But if he sees me, he'll make it personal. Because it is personal, Valentina replied. Because I love you. Dakota didn't flinch. Then let me prove I deserve it. She left at dawn. Hair tied up. Eyes cold. Gun strapped low. The car was unmarked. The driver silent. They took the long way through the hills, where trees swallowed sound and distance played tricks. An hour in, the first shot rang out. Not at the car. At the tires.
Forced to stop.
Predictable. Just like they planned. Dakota rolled out before the second shot. Gun drawn. Blood pumping. 2 men emerged from the trees. Richie wasn't with them, but he was watching. She knew it.
Could feel it.
1 guard down. A headshot.
Clean.
The other grazed her shoulder. She fired through the pain. Then stood in the open.
Exposed. A dare.
Come on, Matteo, she whispered. You wanted a message? Here I am. A third figure emerged.
Tall.
Gray hair. Scar across his jaw. Ricci. Dakota lifted her weapon. He laughed. You don't scare me, little girl. Good, she said. Fear makes people sloppy. She made you weak. You used to be nothing. Now you're just a footnote in her tragedy. Funny, Dakota said, that you think I'm the one who'll be forgotten. Behind him, Valentina stepped out of the trees.
Silent. Perfect. Deadly.
Gun to his head. End of the road, Matteo, she said. Ricci froze. You wouldn't. You touched what's mine. You killed Francesca. You destroyed the old ways. I rebuilt them better. You'll never hold it, he spat. The council will kneel, she cut. After today. He turned.
Fast.
Stupid. She shot him.
Once. Through the eye.
Dakota didn't flinch. The body dropped. The silence that followed was thunderous. Then Valentina lowered the gun, turned to her wife. Are you hit? Just a graze. You sure? Pretty sure. Unless adrenaline's hiding something. Let me see. Dakota let her. Let Valentina press trembling fingers to her skin. Let her inspect the wound. Let her breathe again. We did it, Dakota whispered. We didn't die. Not yet. Optimistic. You married me. I can't afford to be anything else. Later, back at the estate, the council convened. The footage was shown. Ricci's death, Dakota's stand, Valentina's precision. No one questioned her after that. And if they feared her more now,
good.
They should. In private, in the garden, with wine and silence, Dakota leaned against Valentina's shoulder. Did you mean it? She asked. When you said you loved me? Yes.
Still.
Especially now. Dakota exhaled.
Good.
Because I think I'd kill for you. You already have. Guess we're even. Guess we are. Valentina tilted her head. What now?
Now.
Dakota smiled. We breathe. And then we build something that doesn't need to be defended with blood. You think that's possible? No, she kissed her. But I'd rather bleed with you than live clean without you. Valentina didn't answer. She just held her tighter. Them power never truly settled. It shifted, crawled, slithered. Even after Ricci's blood dried on the soil of the southern border, even after Dakota was hailed as a symbol of loyalty and strength, even after the council bent its collective knee to Valentina in a silent, bitter show of submission, there was movement. In whispers. In corners. In tradition. They didn't need bullets this time. They needed a choice. And they knew exactly which knife to twist. It came wrapped in protocol. Delivered with respect. Polite threats with gold edges. A meeting was called. Council only. No guards. No wives. Dakota kissed Valentina's cheek before she went in. Don't let them scare you. Valentina didn't flinch. They've tried. And they lost. Just like Ricci. Dakota smiled. That's my wife. She waited in the garden. Alone. Hours passed. When Valentina finally emerged, her steps were precise, her jaw tight. Dakota stood. What happened? Valentina looked at her for a long time before speaking. They gave me a choice. Of course they did. What is it this time? Another territory? A new front? Valentina didn't answer. Dakota's chest tightened. Valentina? They'll back my leadership.
Permanently. Publicly.
No more tests. No more sabotage. Okay, what's the catch? They want me to end our marriage. Silence. Long, crippling. Dakota blinked. I'm sorry, what? They think you make me vulnerable. That keeping you by my side is an indulgence I can't afford. That it sets a precedent, love before power. Love before power. Dakota repeated, voice hollow. God forbid a crime family modernize. They're afraid. Of me. Of what I become when I'm not just surviving. Dakota sat down hard on the bench. And you? Valentina didn't move. I told them no. Dakota's breath caught. You did. I told them if they wanted my crown, they'd have to pry it from my cold, perfectly manicured hands, and that you'd shoot them before they got the chance. A small, broken laugh escaped Dakota's lips. I would. I know. Valentina stepped forward. But they're not backing down. They'll move.
Subtly.
Slowly. But eventually they'll try again. Then we deal with it. It'll never stop, Coda. Neither will I. I don't want you to lose your life for me. I lost my old life the minute I said I do. The rest I gave you willingly. And if I lose everything because I chose you, then we rebuild it again. Together. Valentina sat beside her. You were supposed to be temporary. You were supposed to be untouchable. You ruined everything. You saved me. They didn't kiss. Not yet. But their hands found each other in the space between declarations, and neither let go. That night, the estate felt heavier. Tense. Dakota wandered through the halls like a woman waiting for ghosts. She found Francesca's old office unlocked. Empty. She stood in the doorway for a long time, then stepped inside. There were papers left behind. Old files. Dusty secrets. One stood out. A sealed folder marked with the council's emblem and a single word, succession. Inside, Dakota found the unthinkable, a contingency plan. If Valentina ever stepped down, the council would select a new head. From within the famiglia. From a shortlist. Her name was on it. Dakota Walsh. She read it twice. A test? A threat? A trap? She didn't know. But it meant one thing. They weren't just trying to remove her. They were preparing to absorb her. Use her. Bend her into something useful. She closed the folder. Locked it away. Didn't mention it to Valentina.
Not yet.
Instead, she climbed into bed beside her wife and lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Do you ever think about leaving it behind? She asked. The family. The business. The blood. Sometimes. And then I remember what it cost me to survive. Maybe one day, Dakota whispered, we walk away. Together. Valentina didn't answer, but her hand found Dakota's again. That was enough. Until morning. Because morning brought fire. A car bomb. In the East Wing. No casualties. Just a message. Power has limits. Love is weakness. Valentina read the note. Said nothing. But Dakota saw it in her eyes. The flicker of fury. The end of tolerance. That afternoon, she called another meeting. All heads present. No more games. No more negotiations. This is the last time you mistake my heart for a flaw, she said. This is the last time you threaten what's mine and expect forgiveness. You chose love over legacy, one of them dared to say. Valentina smiled. No. I chose the one person who would burn the world down with me and call it a honeymoon. Dakota entered the room then. Uninvited. Unafraid. She stood beside Valentina, chin high, spine straight. You want a war? She said. You'll get one. You want obedience? Valentina added. Choose another queen. The room went still. Then someone stood. One of the younger heads. If this is what the new world looks like, then maybe it's time we followed it. A second followed. A third. Not all. Not yet. But enough. Dakota looked at Valentina. We're not done. Not even close. Do you still want to walk away one day? Maybe. But not yet. No, Valentina said, reaching for her hand. Not yet. Because love had become their greatest weapon. And no one saw it coming. It began with silence. The kind that didn't feel like peace, just the space between storms. For 3 days, nothing moved. No messages. No attacks. No threats. Just stillness. The kind that Valentina hated. The kind that made Dakota pace at night like her body could feel a reckoning getting closer. And then it came. Not with bullets. Not with a siege. But with a vote. The council convened in a private location. And it stayed outside Florence. Neutral ground. Heavily guarded. No outsiders. No mistakes. Valentina was summoned. Not invited, summoned. A final judgment. Either she stepped down, handed over the empire, and quietly dissolved her marriage or war. Real war. Streets burned, names erased, legacy erased kind of war.
She didn't hesitate. "We go," she said.
Dakota didn't argue. She packed her things. A gun in her bag, a knife under her dress, a plan in her mind Valentina didn't know about yet. They arrived to Gold Gates, men with mirror glasses and smiles that didn't reach eyes. A long table, 13 seats, 11 filled, the council's core. At the head, the man who'd replaced Francesco in whispers, but never in presence. Gray suit, heavy ring, eyes like oil. "Valentina," he said. "Dakota," he added, voice colder. "She stays," Valentina replied. "Or, I don't sit." They let her stay. Barely. Dakota stood behind Valentina, silent but alert, hands hidden in her coat, pulse steady.
Valentina began.
No notes. No preamble. Just power. "I've bled for this family.
Killed for it.
Watched people I loved die for it. I have built what my father never could. I ended Ricci. I rooted out the traitors. I proved that a woman can lead not because she's soft, but because she is sharp. And still, you want to punish me. Not because I failed, but because I dared to love." "Love weakens," someone said. "So does fear," Valentina answered. "You're all afraid. Of change. Of evolution. Of a world where rules shift and you're no longer kings. You want a democracy now?" "No," Valentina said. "I want something cleaner. Something smarter. And I want her," she tilted her head toward Dakota, "by my side when I do it." Another voice spoke. "You can't have both. Then you get neither."
Gasps.
A pause. And then Valentina stood. "I resign." Dakota's breath caught. But Valentina didn't look at her. "Not yet. I give up the seat, the crown, the weight. But you won't take my name. You won't touch her. You won't take what I built and twist it into something rotten again. Because if you do, if you so much as whisper the wrong name into the wrong ear, I will come back, not as your queen, but as your executioner." The council murmured, shuffled, calculated. And then the man at the head nodded once. "So be it." They left. No bullets. No blood. Not this time. Just a quiet exit and a promise of surveillance. They would watch.
Wait.
Test her resolve. But Valentina no longer cared. Because when the doors shut behind them, and the guards faded, and the plane took off, she finally looked at Dakota. "I meant to tell you," she said. "You didn't have to do that," Dakota whispered. "I know. You gave up everything."
"No."
"I kept everything." She reached for Dakota's hand. "You're everything." And Dakota broke. Just for a second. Just enough. In the back of the jet, as the sun sank over a country that had never loved either of them, they kissed like there was no legacy behind them, just the life ahead. Weeks passed. Quiet. Peaceful. No council. No orders. Just freedom. They bought a house by the sea. Small. White walls. Open windows. Dakota did stand up again. Underground, unannounced, packed with laughter. Valentina cooked. Badly. But tried. And one night, barefoot and sun-drunk on wine and memory, Dakota turned to her and said, "Let's do it right this time." Do what? Get married. Not by accident. Not by chapel. Not drunk in Vegas. Valentina raised a brow. "You proposing? I'm demanding." "How romantic." "Say yes." Yes. And they did. On a cliffside. Just them. A borrowed ring. Vows whispered into sea wind. No audience. No threat. Just two women who had survived the impossible and still chose each other. Later, in bed, tangled in sheets and sunlight, Dakota traced the curve of Valentina's spine. Do you ever miss it? The family, the power. Valentina shook her head. This is power. You sure? I'd kill for this. You already did. Then I'd do it again. Dakota smiled. Bossy. Yours. They fell asleep with the window open, the ocean singing, and the world Finally, quiet. Not